I think the funniest thing in the world is when people take themselves too seriously. So I think it's kind of a little bit ripe for comedy because it's a very serious commitment to live in a tiny house. In just one sentence, I think it's about people trying to define what the idea of home is and realizing that it's more than a physical piece of land or a physical building. It's a value system that people then live in. So they get really excited about the idea of prioritizing relationships and not collecting too much stuff and not needing to take up a large footprint. All these values that a large portion of society, I would think, thinks are laudable values, but then they actually construct a building and they live in those values. The rules and values that get tested in tiny houses, both the play and in people trying to live in them, are the idea that you don't need very much space, you don't need very many things, you don't need to live on the grid. It's very hard to live without creature comforts, but it's impossible to do anything worthwhile by yourself. The biggest thing that gets tested in the play is this idea that we can all be rugged individualists and live on our own, and we don't need the rest of society to be happy. If you have ever reached a moment in your life where you felt like you're totally stuck and the only way to get unstuck was to scrap your whole life and do something totally and completely different, then it will resonate with you as well. I would never live in a tiny home. Well, for a while I lived in a New York City one-bedroom apartment, so functionally I've lived in a tiny home. But I think realistically my books and my kitchen gadgets would not fit in a tiny home, and I would end up going a little bit stir crazy, I think.